to Latitude. We've got a great show. Tonya and Eber Nascimento. Give them a round of applause. Woo! Wow, that was amazing, Tonya. So, welcome to Latitude.
Thank you very much.
Tonya Nascimento, sports psychology consultant and dancer extraordinaire.
Yes, thank you. You're so kind.
So, today we're talking about the sports mind and what it takes to have the competitive advantage in life. And you have an extensive sports background.
Well, mostly in swimming. I was a competitive swimmer for 20 years. I swam for Florida State, which is a Division I swim team. That was kind of my dream to swim in college, so that was a great experience. And I actually continued to compete for another 6 years after that, so it's been a long career, yeah.
We've actually got a clip that we're going to show right now. They're queuing it up, but you've studied sports your whole life and what it takes to have a competitive advantage. And you talk a lot about the sports mind.
Well, I think you're so right. I think that years of being at a high level of swimming really taught me a lot about the mental side. And so I just got really intrigued by that. And that led me into studying the psychological side of sports. And so to me, the sport mind is that athletic mentality. It's that drive to excel, to push under pressure, and just really be the best you can. Bring out your highest potential. And so as a sports psychology consultant, which is what I'm getting my degree in, and as I work at that, I teach mental skills. And it's a whole range of skills. It really is training. You've got to train the mental side just like the physical side. And so I work with athletes to try to take what's already good and make it better, bring them to the top that they can.
Yeah. They really do have to psych themselves out, because when you've got competitive people, I mean, there's some mean girls, vicious girls out there just throwing you the eye and trying to get your self-esteem brought down. So what do you do when something like that happens?
That's a big part of the game, if you will. But
sure.
Well, you were talking about how it can be other people that throw you off.
Yes.
The person in the next lane, behind the blocks, or you're in the same event and you're kind of giving these jibes to each other. Well, what we really teach is to focus on what's important now. So think of that as the win mentality. What is important now? WIN. Focus on what's important now. Helps you win. Helps you remember what it is, right? and only on what you can control. So you can't control what all these other people are doing. You can't control what the water temperature is. You can't control what the weather is. There's a lot you can't control. When you focus on all that, you're going to lose it before you even start.
That's right.
So what is important now? Focus only on what you can control. And that's your race in the water right then. And it really applies to anything in life. Yeah. What can you control? And, what's important now? Stay in the present moment. Don't worry about all the future.
That's such good advice, because how often do we live in tomorrow? We live in what's coming next, that we worry so much about tomorrow that we forget that
and then it's never as bad as you thought it was going to be, It's never as bad. The anticipation's worse.
The fear or the anticipation of something that you can't see.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever feel like that? Yeah. you psych yourself up so much. You're like, oh my gosh, and when the moment comes, if you've positioned yourself, it goes back to positioning, mental positioning.
So you've prepared for a race. You've done everything you can already. You've worked on the mental side. You've practiced only focusing on what you can't control. So when you get up there and you're behind the blocks, you can easily get yourself in that mindset. And that's kind of one of the major things that we talk about is getting in the zone. And that's kind of, we've all maybe heard of that, getting in the zone.
That's what Eber was doing before he got
He was
getting in the zone.
Tell us a little bit about your husband and his background. Because he's an athlete himself.
He is. He played professional soccer in Brazil and came to the United States to play soccer. I heard an awesome from the audience. It is pretty awesome. So we both have an athletic background. Yeah. And it's been a really good match for us because once we became a couple and got married, we really got into dance and our competitive side, but we could do something together.
Now, you guys recently competed in.
We did. We
Tell
can't
us about
ever
that.
leave it at the social level. We gotta go as far as we can. I know. So actually, and this is kind of humorous. We for the weekend, for our honeymoon, right after we got married, we went to a competition in Louisiana. I know, a little bit risky.
So this is the gumbo.
Yes, the Gumbo Dance Sport Championships.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it was our first competition, and we ended up winning in our division. So it was excellent. American Smooth and American Rhythm.
And today you danced swing, but the smooth is a little bit of.
Yes, the American Smooth is one category, American Rhythm is another. It's a total of 6 dances, so it's quite a few.
So in the zone, whether you're dancing or whether you're, what is that? What does that mean?
How to get in the zone?
Yes.
Well, normally when we talk about something like dancing or swimming or, the race can be won or lost before you start, when you think about the mental side. So getting in the zone is about getting all your emotions, your behaviors, your thoughts, everything to the best possible place so that you can set yourself up for success. And so one of the things I've talked about already is focusing. What do you focus on? What do you think about? What helps you really get ready for before you're about to perform? We might have something like imagery in there. You might imagine past races or past dance performances that were good. Okay, I've done this before. I can do it again. And you can bring up those emotions that help you feel real confident.
Now, it's with imagery. Is that like when you're winning, or you're focusing on what's important now? You kind of want to see yourself where you want to be or where you intend to be.
Well, say you're going to do a 50 freestyle in the finals, and you're getting kind of nervous. You're having those doubts creep in. Your focus is going toward, I might not be able to do this. I'm not sure. So you're having trouble focusing on what's important now. Your mind's going. So you might bring up that image of a past time that you were successful in finals. It doesn't even have to be the same race, but if it is, that's great. And just imagine the race and it's particularly the feeling of success afterward, that confidence that build up in you, because it's about getting the right emotion.
Do you
and
ever
that
talk
confidence.
to yourself? Because I do that. I can do this. I sit in the mirror. I can do this. I can do this. I'm trying to convince myself.
That's a major part of it. What you're going to say to yourself, and you want to make sure that it is positive, and that it's pressure relieving. If you're really nervous, if you do well under pressure, which I do, then I load the pressure on. So I do pressure loading statements.
What about those?
Wait, I'm gonna hear one of these. What's the pressure loading statement?
This is it. It's now or never. It's now or it's over. You prepared your whole life for this one event right now. Those kind of things.
Now,
really
I didn't do sports in college. I did talking in college. I was part of the speech team. So we went out and we competed, and we would do the same thing. You go in, you take the room, you command the presence. It's yours. It's get out the competition. That whole thing. So you gotta.
Well, if that makes you too nervous, then you would do pressure relieving responses. Like, you've done this 100 times before. It's just like anything else. Your practice, you're prepared. This is easy. If you don't do well, it's not the end of the world. Those kind of things where you make it less.
Reliever. I don't do well with pressure.
So you gotta know. It's the zone is very personal. It's what works for you. Yeah, and figuring that out.
It's amazing. Well, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, what would you tell the audience if they don't have just that in them, if they've been defeated a lot in life, and because you're able to step out and just keep taking risk, what would you tell them mentally? Like, they really want to do something, what's the steps to do that?
Well, you want to start real small. Build mastery experiences where you feel like, okay, I did that, I feel successful, and you build that little bit of confidence and work up from there. And also come up with a set of affirming statements, things that make you feel good. I am strong, I am confident, I can do this, I can do this. But those kind of things that you turn to and you memorize this list, and whether you're feeling it or not, you keep repeating that.
We have got to cut to a break, but when we come back, we're actually going to be talking about that and having one of your students talking about how she prepares for a race. There's so much more to come, so you do not want to miss the rest of the show. Stay tuned for Attitude. All right. Woo. Hand job going. So before we left for the break, we were talking about getting in the zone.
We were, and one major component is getting the correct energy level. So we've talked a bit about focus, and that's about using your mind to really relax your body. When you get real nervous, you get all tensed up, your heart rate goes up, your breathing rate goes up, and it's just out of control. Well, one way is using the mind. So that's what we've talked about. But now I'd like to really discuss targeting the body, because sometimes it's hard to get inside your head and start changing your thoughts. But what if we started with your body and your body language? And one way we can do that is through breathing exercises, relaxation exercises, and pre-performance routines or pre-race routines.
Now, how long have you been competing in this one?
Well, I've been competing competitively since I was about 5. So, and I'm 15 now.
Oh, wow,
so
10 years.
About good 10 years.
Oh, my goodness. I would not want to swim with you. I'd be toast. So, and I think we've got a clip we're going to queue up, and they're queuing up the clip, but you are getting ready for your race. So tell us what as they put on the video, kind of tell us what you're doing.
Well,
or what you're going to get ready to do. Oh, there you go.
This is a clip from my previous routine. Right now, I'm shaking out my muscles, making sure I'm not tense, and I stare down the middle of the lane just to keep myself focused. And my shoulders, when I get tense, I kind of you tense up in your shoulders, and so I like shaking those out, and my hands especially, because of course in case you make fists. And I just basically and just completely letting go of all my stress and just focusing on my race. And usually, I'll go up and I'll start a 50. In the heat before me, will be finishing up, and I'll just start my race, my pre-race routine just then. And occasionally, whenever I've been late for a race or something, and I can't get through this, I'm just not prepared for it, and it's so much different than
the routine really helps you focus in and reminds you to get you in that zone and ready for the race, huh? So when you didn't get prepared and you felt like you didn't have the routine, did you feel like you were too worked up or maybe under? How was it for you?
It was kind of both, depending on the situation. Depending on what I was doing before. One time I was sitting in the gym and I was like, oh crap, I'm in the next heat. And then I was all excited, and it wasn't good.
Yeah, too much tension maybe, and you didn't have that time to really shake it all out and everything.
Exactly.
And what I love about Amelia's routine is it's the same thing every single time. And that way it's associated with doing well. It gets her in the right mindset.
That's interesting about the tension. You said that you carried your tension in your shoulders. Is that where most athletes or most swimmers?
Most everybody. Think about when you get stressed. It's in your shoulders and your neck. It gets up into your face. So really everybody puts their tension there. And that's really detrimental to performance. So that's one area you definitely want to focus on releasing it.
I know anytime I go to the chiropractor, it can be so much oh my goodness, what do you do?
Yeah. Well, think about the tension. And everyone can do this here. If you just take 2 fingers and you can alternate, just on your leg here, you can alternate. Pretty easy, huh? Make it faster, make it faster. Okay, now tense up your fingers as hard as you can and try to do it. Mine's not going so well. How's yours going? No. Yeah, the tension makes you perform worse. It really takes that away.
And then you have the mental tension. And one thing that we were talking about before we left the show for the break was what you say to yourself. And I'm curious, what do you say to yourself when you...
Well, whenever I'm thinking about my race, I'm just like, okay, I've done this before. I can do it again. And this time I can do it better because I've been practicing. And just go for it.
And does that give you the confidence that you need? Do you, every time that you compete, do you find yourself saying something different to yourself, or
always the same?
The same thing.
Always.
That's really the key, is having it be the same thing, because then you associate what you're saying and imaging and doing with your body with racing. So if you say you're really not into racing that day, and you get behind the block and you just start going through the same thing and thinking the same thing, same imagery, well, by the time the race is about to start, you're ready to go now. You've gotten yourself into that zone when before you might not have been.
Well, and here's another question. You're psyching yourself up and you're focused on what you're doing. How do you approach a competition? How does the competition enter the mind? How do you...
I don't think they do. I always had to block them out because I knew that they were good. Most of them were dang good.
In dancing,
yeah.
You know that.
And so I can't really focus on them because if every time I did, I'd lose. It was just like all right here.
Do you find yourself doing the same thing in swimming?
Well, a lot of the people I swim against are like my friends because I've been swimming with them for a good 10 years now.
Too much.
So it's just I know how they are, and I just prepare myself that way from past experiences. And then when I get to race a new person, it's like, oh, it's a new challenge. So
you hear that thinking? It's a new challenge. It
That's
takes
good.
away the fear.
That's amazing.
That was good.
Well, you've got some demonstration that we're going to go over, but why don't we do that? Let's do that.
Sure.
And then I'm going to have you share a story.
Oh, okay. Ooh, I'll be ready for that. But I'd like to just demonstrate how the tension and your breathing are really opposed to each other. So everybody just tense up as hard as you can. Arms, shoulders, just tense. Hold it,
Do I have to do
and
a face?
relax. Face is good. Now tell me, how is your breathing?
I don't think I breathed.
And you probably weren't breathing at all. Okay, this time.
Okay, now it's kind of straight.
This time, try to breathe. We're going to tense up and try to breathe. Okay, tense up
and breathe.
and breathe.
Not happening.
And relax. Yeah, not happening. Yeah, it doesn't work. It does not work. So what that shows is that your breath, using that, can counteract the tension. And then here's the kicker. When your body relaxes and it releases all that tension, it actually helps your mind release the tension as well. Your worry starts to go. All those anxious thoughts relieve themselves a bit.
So how do you breathe? Do you do like deep breathing, or do you?
It would there's proper way to breathe for relaxation. And before you race, probably as part of your pre-race routine, if you watch carefully, Amelia did this really well. You could see her. So it's really an important part is the breathing. And so what you do, and we can all do this together, you want to get a good posture first. Now posture, by the way, having good posture actually makes it easier to recall and generate positive thoughts.
Oh, interesting.
Slumping down like this makes it easier to recall and generate negative thoughts. So we want to stay up, helps us be more positive thinkers. And then breathe in through your nose. You can go ahead and put your hand on your tummy. As you breathe in, you want your stomach to distend like a balloon's filling up. And then exhale through your mouth. Important for relaxation, you can just keep breathing, I'm going to be talking. Important for relaxation is to have your exhale be extended, much, much longer than your inhale. That gets all the air out and makes you automatically take a deeper breath. It also gets your diaphragm's what's doing all the work, so don't be working hard up here. Relax as you're doing this. Feel your shoulders fall, and let your diaphragm do all the work. It's built for endurance. It's this muscle right underneath your rib cage here. And that's why it comes down and presses your tummy out. So let that do the work, and that actually triggers the parasympathetic nervous system. Fancy word for relaxation.
Oh, thank you for
Fancy word for relaxation. Countering all those things that were happening, letting the tension go. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. So when you do the posture, what is correct posture?
Okay, good. Most of us automatically just sit up straight, but it's more than that. You want to make sure your shoulders are back, so you might go ahead and put them up towards your ears. roll them back, and then let them back down. Now, if that's real awkward at first, just kind of get into a good, comfortable position, but don't make sure they're not tipped forward. Raise your chest up as if there's a, string right here in the middle of your chest. Raise your chest up and let your shoulder blades drop down, and that will get you into good posture.
Good. And you can feel it if you have not had good posture and you try to.
Yeah, at first it would feel awkward. It'd be kind of difficult. You might even be a little sore. But I promise you do this enough, and it becomes easier. And you automatically feel more confident because you're looking confident, and your body talks to your mind.
So it is amazing the power of the relaxation and focus and how you win. We've talked about win. What does win stand for again?
What is important
now? What is important now? And focusing in on that and endurance and really running that race or swimming that swim or enjoying the moment of the dance right now. How do you apply that to real life? And I know I'm going to ask you to share a story just real briefly.
Okay, I know what you're getting at. It's pretty dramatic. About a month ago, I found that I needed to apply all these skills in a real life situation. Mm-hmm. It was my sister, her husband, and me. We were rafting down Coldwater Creek in Milton when our raft capsized. We tried to make it back to the start as quick as we could, but night fell and we found ourselves trapped on an embankment. Soaking wet, it was 58-degree water, 43 degrees in the air. So it was a very difficult and precarious situation.
And how long were you out there?
We were there for 17 hours before we were found. Yes. So really, I needed to use all these mental skills that I had learned. I needed to focus on what I could control. I could not control the temperature. Couldn't control the mosquitoes biting, the thorns that we were trying to sleep on, the whole situation. So focused on what I could do, on what I could control, and that was getting warm, and also the energy level. If I just freaked out, I wouldn't be able to think at all, and wouldn't have been able to make a plan, and would have been gone before I could find a way to save ourselves. So it's staying in the right, knowing, okay, I got to use these breathing techniques. I got to use all this stuff that I've learned to get into the right frame of mind to make a plan and get out of here.
It's amazing. Yeah. And that just shows the power of winning and relaxation. Everything that you had and the skills just came to that one moment. And whether it's sports or life, that's amazing.
So did Eber use these same skills, or how did he do?
Eber, my husband was running around crazy trying to find us.
We're gonna cut, and I want to find out, and I know you ladies do too, what Britney has been up to. Are you ladies ready?
Yes.
Everyone ready? Let's go. Let's give her applause. So, Britney, what do we have here?
So I thought that it would be kind of cool to paint something kind of along the lines of what everyone's talking about tonight. Mm-hmm. And so as far as like focus, my mind went to like a target, like you're centering it on that one thing. So I was kind of like trying to go around that and make something kind of reminiscent of a target. And then at the same time, we're kind of talking about relaxation and how these two things play off of each other and help get to your goal, help you win. Mm-hmm. And so for me, like, the beach and water and all of this just reminds me of like relaxing and just, being really chill. So I put the two together, and so kind of tried to do like a target thing, but then also add in kind of like the watery elements with the colors and then the spraying of the canvas. And so together I feel like it makes one fluent piece. And then in the same way, it's kind of a mental thing too, what you guys are talking about and the way that you should think.
That is amazing. You can see the focus, you can see the relaxation. Let's give her a round of applause. Whether you are competing or dancing or just enjoying the moment, we've been talking about winning and the sports mind and bringing it into life. Thanks so much for joining us for Latitude.